ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गे ईस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं त्रोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यात् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। We are in process of studying Mandukya Upanishad and we are in the Advaita Prakaranam. We saw day before yesterday that Gaudapadacharya ji from mantra number 7 of the Upanishad, he has taken the liberty to compose 3 chapters. The first chapter he composed is called Agama Prakarana. Following that, 3 chapters, Vaitatya Prakaranam, Advaita Prakaranam, and Alata Shanti. The first chapter deals with the Upanishad, and the Upanishadic matter itself is dealt with the 12 mantras and the karikas he has written to explain these mantras. Vaitatya Prakaranam, he takes the mithyatva of Jagat
and he explains that in the Advaita Prakaranam, he takes Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. So he takes the Advaita and he talks about the non-dual nature of Brahman. And in here, he talks about especially that there is absolutely no creation, there is absolutely no world whatsoever, and no jiva. And that is what he explains in this. This Karika Advaita Prakaranam started out by talking about upasana shrito dharmo jate brahmani vartate prag utpattehe ajam sarvam tenasau krupana smrutaha. I explained that each one of us, we engage in our sadhana to understand the truth. And to understand the truth is not easy. It is a systematic unfoldment of the jiva. The jiva has to necessarily blossom and slowly blossom into this truth. It is not an overnight thing, it is not an instantaneous realization. It takes over a period of time. Bhagavan Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita systematically starts the teaching by introducing to the jiva the new concept that the jiva has never heard, that try to know who you are and the world that you are fed up with. Improve your transaction with the world by improving the only transactional way of dealing with the world, and that is karma. So improve your actions and improve the attitude behind action. Thus you will find a little relief. When you find a little relief in this world, now you will get a chance to contemplate upon what is Ishvara, what is Ishvara Swarup. And for that, greater meditation is required. And the greater meditation talked about in Gita is Upasana, that without a systematic uh, worship of Bhagavan, meditation on Bhagavan, the Saguna, Sakara, Dhyan of Bhagavan, we will not be able to understand what is Bhagavan. Eventually, Bhagavan creates Vishwarupa Darshan in Bhagavad Gita so that Arjuna gets a chance to see that the whole world is none other than Paramatma. And this whole world being nothing but the expression of Paramatma, the mind will become even more placid, more quiet. But to get stuck over there and not to progress further is where now the Upanishad starts. From this Karika onwards, it says, this Upasana Ashrita Dharmaha, the Jiva who is abiding in the Upasana of Saguna Ishwar Dhyanam, and saying that the whole world is nothing but the expression of Bhagavan, that the Bhagavan has manifested. Just like in Gita also, Bhagavan Krishna over there shows the Vishwarupa Darshan. Over here, Jate Brahmani Vartate, imagines this world to be the manifested form of Bhagavan over here, Prag Utpattehe Ajam Sarvam Tena Asau Krupana Smritaha. If the individual jiva gets caught up and remains in the upasana and doesn't progress further, that is where the criticism comes from Gaudapadacharya ji. Gaudapadacharya ji is not against doing upasana, but to get stuck in the upasana and not contemplating further is where he raises the issue over here to resolve the identity of the jiva, that Jivo Brahmaiva na paraha, that in fact Jiva is none other than Brahman. If the Jiva is to realize that, and if the Jiva gets stuck in the Upasana aspect, he has issues with it in terms of that there is no lateral, there is no vertical growth in the jiva's evolution in spiritual stature, in the spiritual plane. There is no growth is what is implied over here. He's saying over here, Prag Utpattehe, before the arrival of this, he's unborn, Ajam. How can unborn become born and remain that unborn, infinite, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, if that Brahman, which is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresence, how can that omnipresence all of a sudden manifest and become limited? That itself refutes the omniscience of Brahman. If it is omniscient, if it is omnipotent, if it is omniscient, it cannot become limited. So, Advaita over here is the Advaita means that it is not a cause. It is not a cause which has produced this Dvaita Jagat. This Dvaitam has not been produced. And this is at the level of understanding. Tena asau krupana smritaha. The word krupana over here, Gurudev gives the meaning over here, narrow intellect, miserly. So, what is miserliness? Miserliness is when we have money to buy something, but we don't buy and we suffer. We have money to buy medicine and alleviate our pain and our sorrow, but we choose not to buy it, then we will suffer. So the miserliness over here is compared to the intellect which has been given to us. It thinks thoughts, the intellect thinks thoughts, but having acquired the blessings of this intellect, and we choose not to use this intellect in thinking that this omniscient, all present, all pervading, in all times, in all place, how can that renounce that and become the manifested world? It cannot become that. If Brahman becomes, Brahman loses the status of Brahman. Advaita means it remains Advaita, it ever remains in the non dual abidance, and that non dual can never ever become dual, is what is mentioned over here. That Dvaita Bhakti Bhagavan Krishna gave is a temporary solution. Advaita Jnanam is a permanent solution which erases the jivatva of the jiva and says there is no such thing as jiva, Arjuna. But he will start that 13th chapter onwards, but in the middle chapters he brings about a devotion for Dvaita Bhakti because the jiva has to evolve. Gaudapada Charyaji never addresses any of the Bhagavad Gita things. He starts from the highest, he starts from the negation. In Gita and in all other Upanishad, first there is a deliberate superimpositioning on this world that the world was created by Bhagavan. That Adhyarop was done, and that Adhyarop then is removed. Apavad is done, and what remains by after negating everything, Brahman remains. So this Upanishad starts only from Apavad Prakriya. That is where we find it difficult to process this Upanishad. So now, Ato Vakshamya Karpanyam Ajati Samatam Gatam Yatha na jayate kinchit jayamanam samantatah. Second Karika in Advaita Prakaranam comes and says, Ato Vakshyami. Now let me tell you about this Brahman. And what is this Brahman? Akarpanyam Brahman. So over here, Akarpanyam, limitless Brahman, infinite Brahman, omnipresence Brahman, omniscient Brahman, omnipotent Brahman, ajati, that Brahman, unborn, ever in the unmanifest state, samatam gatam, ekam eva advitiya Brahman, that which is homogeneous, which has not divided itself, and that samatam gatam, where there is no distinction of sajatiya, vijatiya, svagata bhed. There is no differences created amongst the species, within the species, and in the pluralistic. All that differences is not there. A mango tree, the limb is not the leaf, it is not the flower, it is not the mango, it is not the root. Each one of these are different. Then the mango tree compared to the people tree, and then all these trees compared to a forest and a different kingdom and everything. So within the species sajatiya, amongst uh, this vijatiya and svagata, within itself there are all these differences. One mango tree is not the same as the other mango tree, different varieties of mango. Sajati, vijati, a mango tree, then a people tree, etc. Swagata, within the same mango tree, the root is not, the trunk is not, the limb is not, the leaf is not, they are all different parts. So in Brahman, it is samatam gatam, it is homogeneous. There is no distinction, there are no parts. Why? It is unborn, it is unmanifest, it is subtle. And this subtle Brahman, ataha aham vakshyami. Now, over here, uh, Gaudapadacharya ji says, yatha na jayate kinchit. This Brahman, unborn Brahman, this Brahman, which is ever unmanifest, how can something be born from this Brahman? Nothing can be born from this Brahman. Advaita over here is established that even though Jayamanam Samantataha, the pluralistic, which is the plurality which is seen over here, the plurality is not a manifestation plurality, the plurality is an appearance. It appears. And the message which is to be taken from this karika is Brahman is not the cause. Because if it is the cause, then we open up a can of worm. Why did he create it? What is the purpose behind it? What is he drawing out of it? Was there a desire in Brahman? There is a will on the part of Brahman. There is a plan on top of a Brahman. But we see that projection just is. So over here, the point to be taken is Brahman has not become the world. Brahman has lended its existence. And on this existence, the play of the universe arrives. The play of the universe is sustained, and the play of the universe perishes. In this way, Brahman lends its existence principle, and thus that is what is the job of the cause over here. The cause is that Brahman has lended its existence. Advaitam is that which remains ever Advaitam. It never ever changes. And if it never ever changes, but the Dvaita that we are seeing is the projected projection born out of our own inability to see Brahman. And that is where we left off. So now the Upanishad over here proceeds further. Now the Upanishad systematically proves, that no jiva is born. That logical negation of the jiva shrushti, logical negation of the world is given, and then shruti praman is taken, and this is how Gaudapadacharya ji progresses. So now he takes an example. What is the example? Atma ह्याकाशवज् जीवैः घटाकाशैरिवोदितः घटादिवच्च सङ्घातैः जाता एतो निदर्शनम् jato etat nidarshanam. So now over here, what Gaudapadacharya ji is saying, Atma hi akashavat jivaihi ghatakasho iva uditaha. So now the example is given. The example is of the space. Space and Atma are compared over here. There is one homogeneous mass of the existence of space. Space is vast expanse, and there are no plural spaces. Space alone is. So, what is the similarity between Atma, Brahman, Atma or Brahman or Turiyam? Different names, same thing. The fourth referred to as the Brahman, Turiyam, Advaitam, Shantam, all these one and the same. So, what is the similarity between space and Brahman? Number one, they are both subtle. They are both not available for transaction. They are both sukshma, subtle. Second point, Atma and Brahman are both niravayava, meaning they don't have parts. They don't have limbs. The body has limb. I have the head, I have the arm. In the arm, there is an elbow, there's a forearm, then there is a hand, then there are fingers on the hand. These are all parts. Space has no parts. It is one homogeneous, subtle, vast expanse. Brahman also is that. It is all pervading. Space is also all pervading. Atma is also all pervading. So it is formless, sukshma, subtle. It has no form. We cannot transact with it. It is all pervading. It is sarvagata. It is indivisible, niravayava. And they both, fourth point, they both, Atma, space accommodates everything in it. The vast expanse of the space accommodates one Milky Way galaxy. Like that, there are Ananta Koti galaxies in the Akash Tattva. And that Akash Tattva, which accommodates all, and all that happens in the Akash Tattva, na lipyate, the Akasha, the ether, is uncontaminated by all this. We can pollute the air, we can pollute the water, we can pollute the earth, but we cannot pollute the space. Space is. In space, there is air, and that air can be polluted. But space cannot be polluted. So it remains uncontaminated. These 4 points are very, very important. It is all pervading, it is partless, indivisible, it is subtle, it cannot be transacted, and it is uncontaminated. It accommodates all, and yet it remains apart from all. These 4 very important points are taken, and this example is given over here. So it says, the example, Atma Akashavat Jivaihi. This Atma is like Akash, and Ghatakasho iva uditaha. The example which is given is Ghata Akash. One is Mahakash, the great space, and the other one is the pot space. And when the pot space is created, we when we say pot space is created, actually in the great space, pot is created by the pot maker. The pot maker does not create the pot space. The pot maker only creates the pot. And in the process of creating the pot, pot space is created. And we label it pot space, but in reality, there is no such thing as a pot space. There is only a pot. And in the space exists the pot. And that pot now, which exists in that vast expanse, another pot is created. Then within the other pot is also another pot space. Like that, very many pots are created. There will be very many pot spaces. And to make distinction, we call this a pot space. We call the other one a bucket space. We call the third one a cup space. The fourth one a saucer space. The fifth one a plate space. Whatever be the akar is the space within. So the pot spaces are not very many. Actually, it is an appearance of very many pot spaces, but in reality, there is only space. That example now is to be taken to Atma and Jiva. The Atma is like space, Akash. And in that Akash, there arrives the pot of the BMI complex. That BMI is created in the vast expanse of Atma. And this BMI has been created. Prakriti. Prakriti has created these BMI complexes. Now, that BMI complex has the BMI space in it. Outside BMI, inside BMI, it is the same Atma. But the Atma within the BMI all of a sudden now is capable of expressing itself, and the first expression of the Atma in the pot space of BMI is I am. It is the arrival of the awareness principle which says I am. And that I am now, because of that pot which lends the equipment to reflect the awareness that I am, awareness is now extended to whatever is around it, and whatever is around it is the intellect, the mind and the body. So I am awareness is lent to the intellect, and the intellect now says, I think thoughts. The awareness is lent to mind, mind feels emotions. And when the awareness is extended to the body perceives objects. Now, the pot of BMI all of a sudden expresses an individuality which is called jiva. This is the birth or the arrival of the jivatva. So outside is atma, inside is atma, outside atma we call paramatma, and inside atma we now call it jivatma. As many parts, that many jivatmas. But to call everybody jivatma, jivatma, jivatma is utterly confusing. So a name is given, a Swami so and so jivatma. And thousand names are there of Devi, thousand names of Vishnu, of Rama, of Shiva, and people pick one name, and the label is given to the Jivatma. But in reality, the distinction between the Jivatma and the Paramatma, actually, there is only Paramatma. The Jivatma is never born. The Jivatma arrives because of the arrival of the pot. When the pot is removed, the pot space merges. But actually, there is no merging. Merging implies a verb, that there is going and mixing. But mixing with what? There is no mixing over here. When you have a 4 by 4 piece of wood, when there is a log of wood, and when it is cut, and we have two pieces of wood, when it is cut into two pieces of wood, between the blade which is used to cut, there are two pieces. So one side of the blade, one piece, the other side of the blade, the second piece is there. But over here in Atma, in that one homogeneous Atma, when the pot is created, there is no two different spaces. Spaces remain, the space remains ever one. It is in that one homogeneous space a pot is created. So the pot exists in the space itself. So when the upadhi of the pot is removed, when the form of the pot is broken, it is as though that the pot space merges with the outside space, but there is no merging. It was one to begin with. That is what is said, Ghatadivacha Sanghataihi. Just like Ghata, the spots, Sanghataihi Karya Karana Sanghat, born out of Prakriti, the BMI complex, a technical name, Sanghataihi, a part of the body. That is good enough. Jatau, Jato etat nidarshanam. It is seen that this pot has been created, but in reality, there is no creation. Thus, this example of space is so apt over here that it has the space is subtle, Atma is subtle, it is sukshma, it is formless, it is partless, it is indivisible, it is all pervading, and it is uncontaminated. These points are to be kept in mind. So, the Atma is also all pervading reality. It always is. Outside is Paramatma, inside, as though it is a Jivatma, as though Gauda Padacharya ji does not negate the experience. It is what we have concluded of the experience of the jivatva, that I am limited, I am mortal, I am finite, I am sukhi, I am dukhi. That ill conclusions that we have drawn is what he is refuting over here. We will perceive the world, we will perceive the jivatva, but we need not own up the problems of jivatva, because we are not jivatva to begin with, we are paramatma, we are not jivas. If we so over here, Brahman is not the cause of the world. The cause, we have confused ourselves. If we say that Brahman is a cause, then he has created a miserable world. In fact, he has not. He only lends the existence, and all the Prakriti stuff happens on the substratum of it. Remember, this is Apavada. We are not talking about Adhyarop over here. We are not talking about deliberate superimpositioning. We are only talking about negation over here. So, Brahman is neither the intelligent cause, he is not uh, the instrumental cause, the material cause over here. There is an appearance of the world, there is no factual existence of the world. That is what we have to understand. There is only an appearance. The pots have appeared, and that is it. That Atma Tattva within what we call Jivatma is only because it is owning up the reflective surface created limitations, and from that is the limited experience of the jiva. That limited experience of the jiva now is projected and says, I'm sorrowful, I'm this, I'm that. So we are seeing this logical negation of jiva shrushti. We will continue this example over here. The enclosed consciousness is what we call Jivatma. I explained that the enclosed consciousness is only because it is reflecting from this reflective surface, So the first I am awareness alone is, but then the awareness goes further and starts owning up the equipment and is the birth of the Jivatma. So the owning up the enclosed consciousness with self awareness is called Jivatma. External consciousness is Paramatma, and the internal consciousness is Jivatma. The Jivatma and Paramatma, there is a seeming division between them, just like there is a seeming division between the outside space and the inside space. We cannot say inside space, outside space to be two different space. It is only space. In the same way, the outside Paramatma and the inside Jivatma, they are nothing but one Atma. The Jivatva is born out of the identification. So when the body mind complex is born, the total consciousness is available in the body mind complex, which is named Jivatma. So Jivatma is not born. Jivatma is not born. The body is born, and in that body, then the reflection arrives. But there is no such thing as Jivatma. It is only body. When the body arrives, you take the body, Atma remains as Atma. There is no Jivatma merging with the Paramatma because it was Atma. It is Atma to begin with. I think that is enough. I'm trying to explain this a lot because it is a difficult concept for a lot of people to swallow, that there is no such thing as Jivatma. There is no such thing as embodied soul. Continuing, Shloka, Karika number 4. Gatadishu pralineshu gatakashadayo yatha akashe sampraliyante tadvajiva ihatmani. Gatadishu pralineshu, when the parts merge, when they break, when they are broken, when they are dissolved. So when all the parts are dissolved, ghatakashadayaha yatha, the part space also is suspended. The part space also merges. Again, I'm using the word merging, but there is no merging. That inside space just becomes outside space. Again, it is not becoming. The inside space and outside space is only space. The akar part has been removed. And what was referred to as the inside space only because of the part, now all of a sudden has disappeared. In the same way, akashe sampraliyante tadvad jiva iha atmani. In the same way, the Atma over here is all pervading, subtle, partless, all pervading, uncontaminated. These 4 points about Atma, keep in mind, will the Atma always remains uncontaminated. The Atma always remains all pervading. The Atma always remains homogeneous, partless, and the Atma always remains subtle. It always remains formless. This Atma, when the BMI complex merges, this Atma, as though the Jivatma, which we have titled, merges back into the Supreme Self. That Paramatma alone is. Paramatma is right here, but because of the partness, it is not known. So over here, when the limitations are broken down, the identification with them must also come to an end, is what Gurudev is saying. And when that happens, some praline, like we said, that it gets merged. There is no merging. Merging implies a verb. You have to go somewhere, you have to mix something. There is no mixing. The inside Atma, outside Atma is one. It is just that the boundary in the space has been erased. Boundary created by this BMI complex. It is erased. That is all. Continuing, yatha यथैकस्मिन् घटाकाशे रजो धूमादिभिः युते न सर्वे संप्रयुज्यन्ते तद्वज्जीवा सुखादिभिः. So now the fourth point I have brought, which we talked about, contamination. We talk about air pollution, we talk about water pollution, we talk about earth being polluted. These are gross elements which can get polluted. Fire, it will devour it. So there is no such thing as fire pollution. But the other three, air, water, and earth, they are capable of getting polluted. But space, it can never get polluted. So now, yatha, just like ekasmin ghatakashe, in one pot, raja dhuma adivihi, some dirt, raja, dhuma, some smoke trapped in it. Adibihi yute biyutehe na sarve samprayujyante. The other pots don't get affected if one pot has some smoke in it, one has some dirt in it. The other pots don't all of a sudden have some dirt and some smoke in it. The other pots remain as they are. But just because the pot space has dirt in it, the pot space has smoke in it, that does not mean that the pot space contaminates the outside space, or the space element gets contaminated. No, the space ever remains space regardless of what is inside the space. The space ever remains Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta. It remains eternally pure. So one pot space cannot affect the absolute outside pot space. Neither can this affect the other pot spaces. Space remains as space. So this example comes and says that what is in one spot, space, does not mean that it is in the other pot spaces. Over here, the simile made is tattva jivaha sukhadibihi. So replace the dirt and the smoke by joys and sorrows. Whatever joys and sorrows are in one body, the joys and the sorrows in the other body are different. That's all. But the joys and the sorrows of the body does not affect the Atma. The Atma, all pervading Atma, within which are the upadhis of all these bodies, Atma is not disturbed. Atma is not contaminated, and that is what is explained over here by Gaudapada Acharya ji, that Atma does not become unhappy, Atma does not become happy, Atma remains Atma Sat Chit Ananda, regardless of what is in the pot space, regardless of what is in the BMI complex. Atma is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarup. That point is taken. The Satchidananda Atma ever remains Satchidananda Atma. More next Tuesday. We will see next Tuesday morning, this upcoming Tuesday morning, next week, we will continue. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.